So there comes a time in everybody's life where you realize that your way doesn't work. I'm at one of those points again. All these little fears in my mind, all these desires of what I think I want. Oh, I don't want to be lonely anymore. Oh, I want women. Oh, I want this state of peace and well-being. Oh, I want this success. Oh, I want this power. It only leads to more suffering. All these attachments, all these ways of being, all your beliefs aren't working out for you. And what do you do at that moment? I was just doing some reflection, doing some journaling, and I've grown a lot over the years, but still, I waste away my nights scrolling through Instagram, doing random things and not reading, not meditating, not doing the things I want to do. It's like I run from loneliness. I'm always chasing something or the next and rarely at peace. And I feel like this is just like the human condition to some degree. This monkey mind just leads us down so many tangents, back and forth and back and forth. And then once in a while we take that breath of fresh air and it's like, whoa, that's the way of being. That's who I am. That's the self coming through. But then we forget. We go back to sleep. We lose sight of the sacredness. We lose sight of the way of peace, the way of prosperity, the way of being that is best. And honestly, my friends, you come to this realization that you can't do it alone. I'm too weak as I am. I'm not strong enough. I don't have strong enough faith to step into my best and highest way of being. You can't do it alone. And honestly, your own mind is wrong on so many accounts. What you think you want isn't actually what's best for you. And the way through this is an old idea, and it is submission to God's will. It is surrendering to God's will. And what that feels like, is not letting your own sense of what's pleasurable and what's painful rule your life, right? What's uncomfortable, what's comfortable rule your life. It's about getting still and committing to this practice of stillness and listening and surrendering, your work, your attachments, your beliefs, your fears, and being with the sacred stillness and listening and no longer living for you. This is the key. This is the key that changes it all. And honestly, this is the key that makes adults, that brings you into manhood or womanhood, is no longer living for you, right? True heroism, true power will only, and in peace and well-being will only fully come into your life when you realize it's not about you. When you start living for other people, when you start living for an ideal, when you start living for the culture, the love, the well-being, the greatness that you want to see in the world. And all of a sudden, your own petty, fears and pains and suffering and trivialities get put in perspective. It's not about just feeling good all day or trying to feel good and always running the rat race to find another way to feel good, right? It's about giving that all up and living in submission to God. Now, so much of my life I've struggled with that idea. What is submission to God? How do you know God's will versus your own will? And it's about that deep practice of stillness and listening and moving in a way where you're moving from a place of bringing love into the world and bringing power into the world and living towards an ideal. Your way. If you let your way and your, petty mind, fears, desires, and suffering rule your life, if you're always looking inward, you're only going to create more of that. The way into your true flourishing, into your true self and true power, is through listening and living for something bigger than you. And it's time to find that. It's time to commit to that, because that commitment is the only thing that can actually bring lasting change. We can try and work and push, and I've done this my whole life, But you come to this point where it's like, I can no longer do it how I've done it before. It's time to change. So maybe you're in a similar spot and it's time to make that change. Thanks for watching. I just wanted to drop a little log here and get my new book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons. Came out a couple weeks ago, and with that coming out, just a lot of expansion and another transformation initiating into me. Surrender, my friends. It's where the beauty comes from.